Governor Jim Pillen joined state emergency officials in providing an update yesterday on the wildfires burning across western Nebraska. Officials said last night the Morrill fire now 18% contained, the most active area.
What if most destructive force you could ever face didn't give you time to understand it? No warning that feels real, no moment to fully prepare. Just a normal day that turns into something else entirely. Because the truth is, disasters don't always begin with chaos. Sometimes they begin with silence, a quiet field, dry grass moving gently in the wind, a sky that looks completely normal. Nothing feels wrong. Nothing feels dangerous until one small moment changes everything. A spark so small it barely exists, so quick it could be missed. But in the wrong conditions, that spark becomes something else. Something alive, something that grows, something that spreads faster than anyone expects, because in Nebraska, this exact moment has already happened. A wildfire so massive, so relentless, that it burned through nearly 600,000 acres of land. But numbers alone don't explain the reality. To understand what 600,000 acres means, you have to imagine distance. Miles of open land fields stretching beyond what the eye can see, communities spread across wide spaces, all connected by something simple, land, and that land became fuel. But this story doesn't begin with fire, it begins long before that, with a slow change that most people didn't notice. Rainfall became less frequent, season after season. Land received less water. The soil began to dry, grass lost its moisture, vegetation weakened. At first, nothing looked alarming. The land still looked the same, still open, still calm. But underneath that calm, something was changing. The landscape was becoming fragile, reedy waiting. In regions like Nebraska, this kind of environment is dangerous because the land is open, flat, uninterrupted. There are few natural barriers. Nothing to slow fire once it starts. No dense forest to contain it. No large rivers to stop it. Just miles of dry fuel. All it needed was ignition. And when that moment came, everything changed. The first flame was small, barely noticeable, something that could have been ignored. But dry conditions change everything. Fire spreads faster when there is no moisture. Flames move across grasslands like a wave, low to the ground. Incredibly fast. And then wind arrives. Wind is what turns a fire into a disaster. It feeds oxygen into the flames. It pushes fire forward. And most dangerously, carries embers, burning fragments lifted into the air, carried far ahead of the fire, landing in new areas, starting new fires. This is how one fire becomes many. And once that begins, control becomes nearly impossible. This is what happened during one of the deadliest wildfire events in Nebraska. Multiple fire fronts emerged, spreading in different directions. Growing rapidly, moving unpredictably, emergency responders were deployed immediately. Fire crews worked nonstop, trying to contain the spread, trying to protect lives. But the scale of the fire was overwhelming. Stores stretched thin, time running out, and the fire kept growing. Communities in its path had little time to react. Evacuation orders were issued quickly. People rushed to leave, taking what they could carry, leaving behind everything else. Homes, possessions, memories, because when fire moves this fast, there is no time to think, only time to act. The sky began to change. Smoke filled the air. Dark clouds formed overhead, breaking out sunlight, turning day into an eerie orange glow. Ash began to fall, covering roads, covering homes. Breathing became difficult. Air quality dropped sharply. Vapors had disappeared. And the environment became dangerous. For those caught near the fire, experience was overwhelming. The heat intensified. The sound grew louder, a constant roar, like a storm made of fire. Flames consumed everything, fields burned. Trees collapsed. Structures ignited. Ranches were destroyed. Livestock lost. Farms erased. Homes reduced to ash. Entire livelihoods gone. And as the fire spread across nearly 600,000 acres, scale of destruction became undeniable. But beyond the land, beyond the buildings, there was something deeper: the human impact, families displaced, communities shaken, people forced to start over, and recovery is never immediate. When the flames finally die down, real challenge begins, returning to what remains, assessing damage, facing loss, and beginning the long process of rebuilding. Homes must be reconstructed. Land must recover, and that recovery takes time, weeks, months, sometimes years, because fire changes more than what is visible. It affects the soil. Burned land can lose nutrients. Vegetation takes time to regrow. Wildlife habitats are destroyed. Animals are displaced. Ecosystems are disrupted. And restoring balance is a slow process. But even in destruction, there are lessons. Wildfires reveal weaknesses. They show where systems fail, where preparation was not enough, where response can improve. Because while fires cannot always be prevented, their impact can be reduced. Through planning, through awareness, through early detection, through faster response, the wildfire in Nebraska is a reminder that no region is completely safe. Even areas not known for massive wildfires can face extreme events. Changing climate conditions play a role: longer dry seasons, higher temperatures, more unpredictable weather, all increasing the risk. And as these conditions continue, events like this may become more frequent, more intense, more destructive. This is why awareness matters, understanding how fires begin, how they spread, and how quickly they can escalate. Because when a wildfire starts, time becomes the most important factor. Minutes matter. Delays can mean the difference between control and catastrophe. In the end, this is not just a story about fire. It is a story about power, the power of nature, the speed at which it can change everything, and the limits of human control. It is also a story about resilience. How people respond to loss, how communities come together, how rebuilding begins. Because even after destruction, life continues, but the memory remains, the image of what was lost, and the understanding that it could happen again. Because fire does not disappear. It waits for the right conditions, for the right moment, and when that moment comes, returns. Spokries. The only question is, will we be ready next time? Because when the flames rise, they do not slow down, they do not stop, they do not give second chances. They move forward, relentless, and everything in their path must respond. And sometimes that response determines everything.